Can you explain how the Catholic imagination is at work here?
What you're seeing in this whole suite of vestments is the hierarchy of the Catholic Church, going from black associated with priests, red associated with cardinals, and then white associated with the Pope. Originally, the idea was to cover 5 religions: Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, and Catholicism. About 80% of the designers we were looking at gravitated much more to Catholic symbolism and iconography, that it made the other 4 religions look tokenesque. And I was worried that it might be misinterpreted. And then when the Vatican collection came on board, we decided really just to focus on Catholicism, primarily because of the material evidence.
Andrew Bolton is the Costume Institute's head curator. He and his team spent nearly 2 years and 12 visits to Rome to convince the Vatican to lend the Met the 42 items in this exhibit.
Focusing really on the role of creativity and beauty within the Catholic imagination. So that, I think, resonated with many of the people working at the Vatican. Their only condition was that their pieces would be shown separately from the fashions in almost like a white cube space.
Kind of sterile, isn't it?
It is.
Or was that the point?
I think that was the point.
The Vatican items are in the Anna Wintour Costume Center. Ornate mitres and tiaras, crosses, clasps, and rings, and papal clothing of all designs.
There's one suite of vestments that took 15 women 16 years to embroider, and the embroidery is unbelievable. It makes the haute couture look shoddy. It's that sophisticated.
Why the title Heavenly Bodies, Fashion and the Catholic Imagination?
We wanted to locate it within the Catholic ideology, so heaven, but also the idea of body is so central to fashion, but it's also central to Catholic doctrine. So we felt that was a nice sort of comparison.
Many of the fashion designers, as you mentioned, are Catholic. How much of their faith informed their designs, do you think?
Initially, they rejected it. And slowly, I would get emails from designers saying, you're absolutely right. You know, growing up Catholic has made me think about my creativity differently.
Designers like Versace, Dolce Gabbana, Cristian Dior, Valentino, all represented here.
The annual Costume Institute's gala.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of the reaction to some of these superstars wearing the fashions that they did?
The dress code for the gala was Sunday best, but with the implicit sort of idea that one should dress more modestly than previous years, which the majority did.
But there was some cheekiness at the party.
And I think that's also part of that playfulness. It's actually part of Catholicism. But you know, the gala very much is a fundraiser for the museum, and we would never be able to do the work we do without that.
In addition to the Vatican items, Heavenly Bodies features 55 designers and more than 150 secular outfits inspired by the Catholic Church.
So how did you decide to separate this into 3 parts?
Well, the idea originally was to create the experience of a religious pilgrimage, which allowed you to go from the Anna Wintour Costume Center to the medieval art galleries to the cloisters in Fort Tryon Park. It was a way of showing different sides of the Catholic faith, but also connecting them to the spaces that we have in the museums.
The fashions here in the Met's Medieval Gallery have been placed to highlight relationships within the Catholic religion.
In the middle of the gallery we have a choir screen that really acts as a physical and conceptual divide between the earthly hierarchy of priests, cardinals and bishops. And when you go past the screen, the celestial hierarchy of the cults of angels, the cult of saints and the cult of the Virgin Mary.
Was this a gamble for you?
It was in some ways, because you weren't ever sure how people would react to it. What we tried to do for the exhibition to be a platform for people to discuss the issues that are raised in the exhibition. I think every show should have some level of controversy surrounding it.
The third portion of the pilgrimage, the cloisters, is easily accessible by taking the A train to Dyckman Street Station.
You know, the cloisters is in some ways a wonderful confection. It's a way of escaping in time and place to a kind of Camelot.
The cloisters may look and feel like a monastery, but it's always been a branch of the Metropolitan Museum.
I'd love to watch the public in our galleries compared to the public in the main building. In the main building, great throngs of people making a lot of noise and holding up cameras. People come here and they have an almost reverential tone. The light around the Balenciaga gown, it's as if it were a halo. People don't want to cross that light.
This is the first time that the Cloisters has been included in the Met's costume exhibit.
These costumes are extraordinary works of art that speak to the medieval works of art, and I really feel as if the Cloisters has just been waiting for them to arrive.
I've always believed that fashion is one of the most important art forms because it's a living art form. So I think my role and of my colleagues is to come up with ideas that make you think about fashion in a different way.